I'm Debbie Godfrey. Welcome to the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast.
Today's pep talk is another effort to induce compliance from the child, like extracting a promise, but it's not. It's a different form, and it's equally detrimental. And it's when we occasionally try to tell our children to pull themselves together. So, we'll say, pull yourself together, get a hold of yourself. And generally, the problem is that we don't also imply for you're surely going to pull through. What we usually mean is that our child should use his willpower. He should not be so weak. And this is how the child understands it when we say pull yourself together. They're misinterpreting the situation as I'm weak. I can't get a hold of myself. And that's not the conclusion that we want them to draw, because instead of making them feel stronger when we say that, it actually makes them feel weaker. And so your child will try to act differently, but hardly ever does he succeed, because all of his efforts leave his intentions unchanged. He's going through the motions of controlling himself because you've told him to get a hold of himself. But the result is he's feeling increasingly helpless. And so he's even more convinced of his lack of willpower, and his behavior doesn't improve at all. And it's funny, the way that Dreikur describes this is that this appeal to the child's power proceeds from a false psychological premise. The conscious will is not always in harmony with the actual, more deep-seated intentions that produce the child's behavior. Even when your child makes a mistake, he has a purpose. Naturally, his intentions in this moment are not friendly, as they express his conflict with a given situation. But while others may recognize the antagonistic tendency, the child himself may be unaware of it. So when we tell our kids to take hold of themselves, it forces them into an attitude that may have far-reaching and unfortunate implications for later life. And this psychological mechanism, Dreikur says, consequently develops an important basis for the development of neuroses. So for Dreikur, this was a particularly harmful phrase to use in our parenting. And the reasoning is that what really happens when a child pulls himself together is that his attitude is not altered. His defiance or his protest, he's maybe striving for recognition, he's trying to avoid responsibility. All of it remains untouched when we say pull yourself together. Instead of figuring out what he needs to do to improve himself, he just becomes more helpless and more weak. He can't learn anything from our saying pull yourself together. And nothing in saying pull yourself together helps him alter his inner scheme of purposes. So it doesn't. He gets more intent on feeling helpless, finding excuses, becoming forgetful, attending to nothing, entering a conflict even with himself, which is usually only a sham conflict and leads nowhere. So this is one of the things that I noticed from having this information for my own kids is this idea that when they're falling apart, when they're the times where I would say pull yourself together, it would be when they're kind of falling apart or being emotional. And one of the things I noticed, especially with Brianna, I would say, honey, you're going to figure out the solution to this. You're going to figure out how to work this out. I know that I have confidence in you. I have faith in you. I know you can work this through. And that's the idea that we want to think of here. Instead of saying something that causes them to feel weak, we want to help them build on their strength and build on their abilities. So I'm going to go ahead and keep reading some of this because I really like this chapter in the book. Seemingly weak-willed individuals give in to all their malignant impulses with the appearance of being able to control themselves. Through their weakness and lack of energy, they force their parents and other people of their environment to make all necessary decisions for them and burden relatives and friends with the complete responsibility for their actions. Yet no one can argue with them since they obviously try hard to fulfill their obligations. So we need to not use this phrase of pull yourself together or get a hold of yourself. It's far better to look for the origin of what's causing them to behave the way they are and look for ways to help them figure out a way to behave better. So that was, to me, just really interesting interpretation of this idea of pull yourself together. Have a great day. Happy parenting.
Thank you so much for joining me here at the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast. I assume you're here because you're getting something out of these daily pep talks. And wouldn't it be great if more parents could hear more about these ideas for their children? And you can help me in a great way by liking the episodes, by sharing them on your social media, and especially by providing a review on your platform of choice. So if you could do me a huge favor and do that, it would really help get this out to many, many, many more parents. And we can all help our children feel more seen, heard, and understood, which is my life's work, is to make sure that all children feel loved and appreciated and that we can discipline them without breaking their spirit. So I hope that you've enjoyed these podcasts and will continue to enjoy them. And I really appreciate any support you can give me here at Positive Parenting Pep Talks. Thank you so much. Have a great day and happy parenting.